Well, welcome everyone to our first online session or online meeting of the Foundation of Statistics course using R. I'm your professor for the R portion of this course. My name is Kristen Sosulski. I have a kind of a tough last name, and I'm sure many of you do as well, and we'll go around the room and you'll probably see me struggle, so I appreciate your patience with me. So this morning, at least it's morning in New York, it's 8 a.m. here, I want to make sure that we do a few things today. And I'm going to go over the agenda that I have laid out, but just like loosely, I want to make sure that you're learning R at a basic level and that you just get some practice here today. And that's really important that you practice anytime you're learning something that's new, or even if it's something that you already know. It's a great opportunity that this program gives you, the Masters of Science in Business Analytics, for all of us to kind of meet online, ask questions, and I find it really a time saver in that instead of waiting for a response by email, that you can ask a question and you have 23 of your peers to answer the question in addition to myself. So it's pretty efficient, and it also allows us to see how other people solve problems as well. So let's move on to the next slide. And so I thought I'd give you a little introduction about me, just so you know who I am. You probably read my bio online, but basically, I always describe my career as something that kind of full circle. So I actually began my undergraduate studies at NYU Stern School of Business in the area of information systems, and that is the very area that I teach in today. But along the way, I had a journey for about 10 years or so at Columbia University, where I got my doctorate in a really interesting area of learning sciences. So this kind of blends together education, and specifically I was studying higher education and technology, and for the purposes of creating learning environments. And my focus was on creating digital learning environments that truly help students learn. And so my focus has been always on technology and using technology and analytics and data, but in the area of education. And I came to Stern to actually lead the learning sciences team at the W.R. Berkeley Innovation Labs to do this in particular. In addition to my faculty appointment, where I teach several courses in the areas of computer programming like this, and data visualization. So in Module 3 in Shanghai, you'll see me again. So I teach the data visualization course. It's a real passion of mine. And I'm actually writing a new book on data visualization. So hopefully you'll get a free manuscript copy if it's done on time. So I'd love to hear your feedback on that. And in addition, I teach courses that are what I like to call experiential. And what this means is basically that I take students to work on the site of real businesses in the areas of operations management. So I just came back from a trip to Panama, and where students actually studied the Panama Canal at the Panama Canal, which is pretty interesting. We also learned how business is done in Panama and saw a lot of real estate development and government agencies and so much. If you're interested in that, I have lots of posts on that on Twitter. If you guys are on Twitter, it's just my last name. Feel free to ask me about anything that I'm working on or what I'm doing. So just to kind of summarize everything, so I have my passions are technology change, analytics, and specifically in the area of higher education. So that's just a tiny bit about me. I thought that might just be a little bit of a helpful context. The final thing that might be relevant to you is I've been teaching programming for a really long time. Actually, when I started teaching, I started at Columbia University, and one of the first courses that I taught was a programming course. It was a Java course, so that kind of dates me a little bit. I learned very quickly the things that work and don't work when teaching programming. And I actually did my whole master's thesis on like strategies for teaching programming to people that are programmers and non-programmers. So that was really an interesting study for me and an interesting experience. And I've taken those practices, and hopefully you'll find what I put together for you helpful in this course. But again, you'll be the judge, and I appreciate any feedback along the way. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the next slide. This just describes some of the businesses that I've worked for, whether I bring these businesses into my classroom or I've done work for these businesses in areas of social media or data visualization or business or project management, something like that. So I'll move on to the next slide. So we have, it looks like about 21 people here. And what I like to do is go around the virtual room and everybody introduce themselves. Now, we don't want this to take the whole class, but I find that we're all online together, and we should at least, try to put a face with a name, or at least a voice with a name. So you're welcome to use your video camera if you like, or just your audio. But if you can just promise me to be very, very brief. So just tell me, tell us your name so we know who you are and who's speaking, where you're located. Okay, so I'd be like, I'm Kristen Sosulski. I'm located in New York City, and I work for NYU as an associate professor and the director of learning sciences for the Berkeley Innovation Labs. And then I would be done. So not that I don't want to hear more. We all want to hear more, and you will have plenty of time throughout the program to chat and with others and share your background and experience. But this is just something that I want to just keep kind of brief. So what I'll do is I have a list of people who have registered for this session, and I'm just going to call your name, and I'm going to ask you to unmute your microphone and just tell us a little bit about yourself. And if your microphone is not working, please, please, please just type your introduction in the text chat, okay? And I'll always be looking at that. So let's begin. I'm going to unmute everybody, and we're going to start with David Edwards.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, David. Welcome.
Nice to meet you. My name is David Edwards. I'm living in Tokyo, Japan, and I work as a corporate finance manager at Shizen Energy, which is a renewable power plant development and financing company here in Tokyo. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Nice to meet you. Tokyo is one of my favorite places on the planet, so that's awesome. Next up, we have Nande Puda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, and welcome, Nande.
Thank you. My name is Nande Puta. I am here in New York City. I work with the United Nations Children's Fund at the headquarters right here in Manhattan. And my position is Program Specialist, Child Survival. Thank you.
Thank you, Nande. That sounds really, really important. Next up, we have AJ.
Hi there, it's actually Ajay Madaya. And yeah, no worries, everybody gets it wrong the first 4 to 5 times. So I'm in New York as well, and I work at Interpublic Group as a Senior Director of Global Compensation and HR Systems.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Nice to meet you, Ajay.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, thank you. I got it right the second time.
Okay, I try to be a good student. Okay, next I have Aman Karki.
Hi all, my name is Aman Karki. I am from Connecticut, which is a 1.5 hour drive from Manhattan, New York. I work for Bristol Myers Squibb as a principal SAS programmer. I manage the team, and we do all the FDA submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, great. Nice to meet you, Aman. Okay, next I have Burkak. I don't know if you can hear me or if I'm pronouncing your name right. Burkak Ku, I see that you're online here.
Apologies, I was on mute.
Oh, fine. No problem.
Hello?
Hello.
You can hear me now?
We can hear you. Welcome.
Yes, hi. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I actually use my second name, which is Utku. I'm located in Dubai at the moment, and I am a co-founder in a boutique investments firm called Altamar Investments.
Wow, sounds very interesting. Love to learn more. Nice to meet you, Utku.
Same here, thanks.
Okay, next I have Dimitri.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. I'm Dimitri Duganja. I'm based out of Dubai. I'm the strategy and planning director for Coca-Cola Middle East, and I'm very excited to be in the class. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Do you know Utku?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, now we do.
That's amazing. Okay, so next we have Kai Wei. Okay, we're just waiting for Kai Wei Ku. I'm sorry, Kai Wei. See, you have your microphone on, but we're not able to hear you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning and good evening, everyone. My name is Kai Wei, so you can call me Kevin. I live in Singapore, but originally I come from Taipei. So now I work as the BI solution advisor to help the enterprise on the architecture, hardware, and the software area. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Great to meet you, Kai Wei. Next, we have Alex. Alex Ku? Ko?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, my name's Alex. I'm currently in Melbourne, Australia, as a managing consultant in a Australian IT firm specialising in data warehousing, business intelligence, and data science.
Wow. What time is it in Australia now?
It's nearly midnight.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's a good time to have a lecture.
Oh no, you're going to be on till like 1:30. All right. Well, I commend you for joining us this late.
That's right.
I'm more of a night person, so this session for me is a little hard. It's 8 a.m. here, or 8:17. Okay. Next we have Ahmad. I don't see him actually. Oh yes, I do.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Or good evening, depending on where you are. So this is Ahmad Talji. I live in San Diego, California. It's 5 a.m. on the West Coast right now. So I work as a telecommunication engineer for Qualcomm, which develops telecommunication equipment.
Wonderful, Ahmad. Thank you. Welcome, and early morning to you. Next, we have Tanik.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi. I'm sorry. I'm Tanik. I'm an investment banker based out of Thailand, Bangkok. So I've been doing merger and acquisitions and other capital markets type of corporate banking, corporate finance type of business. So yeah, good evening from Thailand. Hi.
Okay, thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So next we have King Zhang. I see that you typed it in the text chat.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Can you hear me? Great. So hi. So you can call me Jimmy, actually, Jimmy Zhang. So I'm located in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and currently I'm leading the people operations and systems team. So people meaning HR. So I'm leading the HR space. Trying to basically improve efficiency and processes across the company.
Great. What company do you work for?
Biogen.
Biogen. Wow. Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Jimmy.
Nice to meet you too.
Next, I have Linda Vo.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Linda.
My name is Linda Vo. Hi. So my name is Linda. I live in New York City, and I work at American Express for the business unit called Prepaid and Alternative Payment. It's a very sexy name. The cards in our portfolio includes Serve, our co-branded card with Walmart called Bluebird, and a gift card. So I work on anything related to digital analytics. Our tool of choice is Adobe Analytics, and my work includes any deep dive analysis, tagging and implementation, and report automation.
Wow, sounds amazing. Nice to meet you, Linda. Next, I have Saif. And I don't see. Okay, I'm going to move on. Is Akash here?
Hi everyone. Yes, can you hear me? Okay.
Well, yes, we can. Welcome, Akash.
Oh, thank you. My name is Akash Natyal, located in San Francisco, so it's very early morning for me. And I work as a manager in clinical data management at Roche Diagnostics.
Well, nice to meet you, Akash. Sorry for getting you up so early.
No problems.
Okay, next up is Chad.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, my name is Chad Rothbart, and I'm in New York City, and currently was working for Weight Watchers, and my role there was internal audit manager.
Great. Nice to meet you, Chad. Thank you. Next is Annabelle here. Okay, I don't see Annabelle. How about Salma?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Salma Kayali, and I'm based in Abu Dhabi, which is about an hour and a half away from Dubai in UAE. I'm an innovation consultant, and I work on projects that primarily focus on entrepreneurship, promoting entrepreneurship in the Middle East, as well as innovation programs for the public and private sector.
Wow, that's really interesting. We should definitely talk. So one of my roles is part of leading learning science team at the Berkeley Innovation Labs. It's on the 4th floor in Tisch. So when you come to NYU, you definitely have to visit our space.
For sure.
Great, Salma. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Next, I have Albert.
Hi everyone, I'm Albert. I was born in Japan and raised in Taiwan. I'm currently based in Taipei, and I work at Expedia as market associate.
Well, welcome, Albert. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, we're at the home stretch. 3 more. Last but definitely not least. Okay, so 3 more people. So Rishi.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Rishi Doshi. I live in New York City right now, and I work at a digital marketing and advertising company called Horizon Media. And I specifically work in their digital analytics department, working on the Chobani account.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Rishi.
Thank you.
Next, we have Brian.
I'm Brian McInnes here. I'm originally Canadian from Toronto, Canada, but living in London and work for Aon in the UK. I was the insurance broker responsible and help manage a team where we do product development and portfolio trading.
Great, Brian. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Okay, next is Tim here.
I am. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you. I have massive location envy. I'm based in the exotic Baltimore, Maryland. I work for a firm called CB, which is a research and advisory firm. We've just been acquired by the Gartner organization, and I'm the head of research for our corporate finance practice.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome. Is there anyone that I missed?
Hey, Kristen, this is Akshay. I don't think you announced my name.
Okay, so please introduce yourself.
So last but not least, good morning, everyone. I'm Akshay Bhasin. I'm currently based in London, and I work as strategy operations manager at the EY Global Headquarters in the firm's Global Tax Business Unit. My focus currently is on designing and driving the digital and analytics tax strategy within the business here. Thanks.
Thanks, Akshay. Yes, you were on my list. Thank you. Welcome. Is there anyone else that I might have missed? Take one more second. Okay, there's 24 of you here. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to share a little bit about yourself. I think it's so interesting. I mean, this is one of my favorite academic programs to teach in, the Master's of Science in Business Analytics. And the reason why is because the program is such a global program. Not only do we study in New York City and in London and Shanghai and then back in New York City, but at the same time that the class makeup, the composition of the class is, so diverse in terms of where people are from and what they do and the industries that they work in. And I think that's what makes this program so powerful and really motivating for students, but also for faculty to teach it. All the faculty in this program are super energetic and really want to be here and really want to help you learn and get better at what you do and help you achieve your goals. So I like to kind of do this introduction. I only do it during the first session, just to give everybody a sense like, wow, there's people here from London, Taipei, Singapore, Thailand, California, Baltimore, Connecticut, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. And I've missed California. I've missed, many, many more, but not to mention New York City. And I think that's really kind of a testament to, our admissions team and everyone who works for the program, creating this type of class for this type of program. So I hope you appreciate that, like we do, in the sense of just all the differences and the diversity of makeup. So what I'd like to share with you is the agenda for today. So one is I just want to make sure that you are successfully learning how to use R at a basic level. That's lessons 1 through 2. Okay, that's not, for some of you, that might be like a cakewalk. For some of you, it might be, wow, this is new. I've never seen R before, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to just fill out a survey to share your progress with me. And then I'm going to provide you with an opportunity to practice in real time. And we will do that, next couple of minutes. We'll start practicing real time. So you should have your RStudio and everything ready to go. And then I will allow you to, obviously ask questions and encourage others to ask questions and help answer questions as well. So let's move on to the next slide. So there's a link here, and I'm just going to type this link in the text chat, if I can. I need to just go back one moment, because I don't want you to have to type that in. So in the text chat, I'm putting the link for the survey that I would like you to complete. Okay. And basically, I just want to know what sessions you've reviewed, what exercises you've completed, your experience in R, and if you have any like burning questions right now that you'd like me to try to address. So it's 8:29 New York City time, so let's just take 2 minutes for this survey. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you to finish up. Okay, it looks like I've gotten 16 responses, but I know that there are about 24 people here, so another second or two. All right, so it looks like I've gotten 18 responses so far. So what I'd like to do is just go over your responses. And I like to show this for many, many reasons. So if you just make sure you're back in your GoToMeeting window so you can see what I'm showing on the screen. And basically, this is just a summary from the Google form. And so I like to look at the first question, which sessions have you completed? And we'll see that most people have completed session 1, and about 10 people, or about half of the people who responded, completed session 2. And a few people have completed none. Okay, so if you've completed none, you might have a little bit of a hard time today if you don't have like the right software and packages installed, but we'll see. We'll work with you. It's good before these online meetings that you do the sessions that correspond to the meetings. At least you go through them and you have the necessary packages installed, and you have a sense of what the topic is. It's great if you can go through it and in particular complete some of the exercises. So here it says, which exercises have you completed? So it looks like almost everybody's completed session 1. Awesome. Thank you. And most people have, well, 2/3 of the class have completed session 2, and then you see it kind of trails off from there. And that's where everybody pretty much is. This is an interesting diagram. So let me just refresh this. So you see this pie chart here. So it says, prior to this course, what was your experience with R? And I always like to ask this. So let's look at the first one. That's the purple area proportion of the pie chart. So it looks like over 70% of you, this is your first introduction to R. We have one person who has been familiar with R, but's never used it. Some people have used it a few times, about 16%, and one person's a frequent user. But no one could teach this course. I doubt that. Maybe the frequent user is being modest. Anyway, I thank you so much for your honesty. I like to share this back with you so you get a sense of the distribution of kind of like skills and experience with R in the class. And a lot of times I think you might feel that you're coming in and everybody knows everything. And I like to kind of show that, a lot of people R is something that's pretty new to most people. It doesn't mean that some people haven't programmed before, so it might be easier for some people to pick this up over others. But that's quite a large number. So I hope that you're enjoying learning a new language. Let's see some of your questions. Okay, so this will be covered. So far, so good. This will probably be covered later, but how do we integrate this tool with data that resides on other servers and systems, right? So that's something that we can definitely discuss later in the dealing with data course for sure. How will R be used in the program going forward? Okay, that's a great question. So R has a series of robust packages that allow for kind of sophisticated data mining models, clustering models, different algorithms, classification models. And so we'll be using R as a tool to analyze and interrogate our data. So if you've taken lesson 1, you've used R as a calculator, 3 plus 3, at the command prompt. Instead, you'll be working on large data sets, and you'll be looking to develop a predictive model, for example. So I hope that's exciting and interesting to you. The next question: are we expected to learn programming skills as well for mastering R? Well, it's kind of like one and the same. But part of this course and my objective is to have you start thinking like a programmer, and also develop a baseline competency. Being a master of something is not so easy these days. It's easy to know a lot about something, but to be a master, I would say you probably would take many, many years to master any programming language. And people could feel free to pipe it in the text chat. People who have that mastery probably can affirm what I'm saying. Which is more popular in statistical or machine learning, R or Python in the industry? They're both very popular. And that's why we teach both in the program. And that just answers that question. So far, the resources have been very useful. I hope this will continue. Oh, there's textbooks. Yeah, there's definitely, I definitely have some recommended resources for you. I can send them out with my email that you'll get tomorrow, just so that no one has to remember it. I can send some resources out for that. Okay, well, again, along the way, if you have any questions, I am completely open. Send me an email, or you can ask me something in the text chat, stay after this online session, whatever method really works for you. So this is, we've done item 1. I want to just to do a quick check of where you are in learning R and your initial understanding of that. And now I want to give you some time to practice in real time and to answer your questions. And so there are, if you haven't downloaded the materials for this session, there's a couple ways that you can do that. In the future, you can go to NYU classes, this course, go to lessons, and then materials for online sessions 1 through 3. And there you'll get all the exercises. So you're in session 1 today, which covers lessons 1 and 2. And these exercises are just practice exercises, and I provide the solutions for that. And if there's any data that goes along with it, there's data here. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. There's a nice reference sheet too. For today, if you haven't downloaded it, I also load the materials up and go to training. So there's something called materials here. See where my mouse is, and the 2 PDF files and the CSV file is there, okay? So just make sure you have that available. Also, I advise you to work a certain way. We have like a lot going on, right? You're going to have RStudio open, right? So this is the platform that we use for programming in R. And then you're going to have your exercise open, which is going to be like a PDF file. And then on top of that, you need to have your GoToMeeting control panel open. So I would suggest in the future that you print out the exercise so you give yourself a little bit more real estate so you can look at that. You don't have to look at that on the screen. Or if you have 2 monitors or something, then you know how to set that up. So I'm going to do a quick primer before we begin with those exercises, and just to kind of go over like some really basic stuff from session 1, just to make sure everybody has a clear understanding. And like I said, you'll get everything, you know, by email and with all the links tomorrow, but the code is also available here of what I'm going to go over. So we're going to talk about just the command line, the console window in R. And so that's this space here. Okay, so this is just a screenshot of RStudio. I just want to explain it a little bit. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, this is where you write your R scripts or your R kind of programs. Okay, we're not there yet. You're going to start doing that when you reach lesson 3 in NYU classes. Okay. Down here, this is where we're using R as a calculator. We're just typing things in at the command prompt. It's called that greater than sign. To your right, you can see that I have a lot of different names like movies and sidewalk, unenclosed. These are actually all data sets that I have, and you can see that like movies, I have 50 observations and 10 variables. That means I have 50 rows and I have 10 columns. Okay, that's that data set. Yours will look different, but these are the data sets that I was working on. And then you can see any variables that I've created. Like I created a variable called age and I assigned it a value of 34, for instance. So you can just see that in the environment. And then if you ever forget, you can always reference those data. And then finally, to the right, to the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a graph here. This is where you can start seeing your visualizations. It's also a place where you can look up documentation and ask for help. And finally, also install additional R packages. So talking about working in the command prompt, just want to talk a little bit about input-output. So our input here, we have this complicated equation, 3 + 2, and our output here is 5, and so on and so forth. The number 1 in brackets simply means that this is the first line of output. At times, you'll have multiple lines of output, so it's good for you to see that. And so this means that you're on the first line. Okay. So when we use R as a calculator, obviously we can use any of these arithmetic operators. These should look pretty similar or familiar to you, of course. Modulus might be something that might be like new to some people. This is just simply the remainder from integer division. So if I'm dividing 6 by 4, my modulus would be 2. Okay. Next, I want to just go over simple things that have to do with variables in R and assignment. So this is important stuff to pay attention to. When we assign a value to a variable, we use something that's called an assignment operator. So we have X as our name of the variable, and then we have an assignment operator. This combination of characters may look odd to people who are used to programming in other languages like Python or Java or pretty much any other language on the planet. This is very unique to R, and I like to show, make a point of this because when you read documentation, this set of characters might look unfamiliar to people that have coded before. And then we have the value that's stored in the variable. So how we read this, so part of my goal for you is to learn how to talk like a programmer as well. And so to not only learn the syntax, right, how to assign a value of 3 to X, but also how to describe what you've done and to describe it in a proper way. So Here I'm assigning a value to x. X does not equal 3. It's just assigned a value of 3. And that means I can update that value. That variable. That's why it's called a variable. Okay, so I can change x and assign it to another variable or another value. In addition, we can use the equal sign for assignment. And I like to, so there's 2 ways that we can do the same exact thing. And you'll find that throughout learning any programming language, there's always many ways to solve problems. And in R, there's 2 ways that you can assign a value to a variable. You can use the assignment operator I showed you before, or the equal sign. This is not denote equality, so we're not saying x equals 3. We're simply saying we're assigning the value of 3 to x. And we can use the equal sign. However, like I mentioned before, in the documentation in R, I go back to the previous slide, this operator here is the one that is used. Okay, so if you become a master R programmer, you're going to be working with this operator. You can choose to use either for this class. Okay, so now why don't you go ahead and try it? You have RStudio open, so I want you to assign a value of 42 to a variable named y. And I'm going to go through these very quickly, but just if you have it open, just go to the command console and then try doing that. All right, so you might have done something like this, right? Very, very simple. So, and if you wanted to access that variable later, or that value, you would simply type the name of the variable at the command prompt and press enter. Okay, and then R would print out what value is assigned to your variable. Again, if there's anything that's confusing at this point, please feel free to ask or type a question in the text chat. You can do other examples, obviously. So now I can add values to y. So my question for you here is, let's look at the first line of code, y plus 2, and we get an output of 44. Can somebody tell me what the value of y is after the first line? Just type your answer in the text chat. Ajay says 42. Rishi, 42, 42. Why? Why is it not 44? No assignment. Yes, that's the answer. All the other things are correct, but the real answer I was looking for is no assignment. I did not reassign the value of 44 back to y. Okay, I just added 2 to it. Okay, it was almost like saying 42 plus 2 is 44, but 42 is still 42. Okay. So you can update a variable. So if I say assign a value of 42 to y in the first line here, and then I can take 42, which is my y in the second line, minus 1, and then I can assign that value of 41, basically, back to y. Okay, and that's how I update my variable. It's called a reassignment. Great, good answers. Okay, so this is your next task. Assign a value of 42 to the variable y, and then assign that value to x. Once you've done that, you can type your answer in the text chat. And and I'm going to answer Brian's question. There is no difference between the two operators. However, the latter one that you mentioned is the convention in R. Okay, so if you've done this, you can type your response in the text chat. It should be like this. Okay, so this should be pretty straightforward. Assigning the value of 42 to y, and then you're taking y and you're assigning it to x. So what's x now? Well, x has a value of 42. Good, thank you, Aman. So there are lots of different types of data that we work with, and those types of data have what's called data types and structures. So for most numbers, R is going to interpret those numbers, by default as being numeric. However, numbers can be of type integer, negative or positive whole numbers are integers, floats or doubles, so these are any number with a decimal point, and those are two really basic ones. And like I said, in many cases, R will interpret any number, whether it's an integer or float, as a numeric, just so you get used to that that class type, it's called. The third bullet point I have is called an integer vector. So if I wanted to create an array of numbers, like a column of numbers, okay, I could use this function called C, and I create 6 values, and you can think of those 6 values as being like one column in Excel, okay? And that's called a vector, and the vector is comprised of integers only. So that's why we call it an integer vector, where, you know, if you just had a single value assigned to a single variable, we just call that a variable. Okay, and then on the right-hand side of the screen, I have other. So these are other data types. Boolean, so this is where you're using logical operators to evaluate for truth. This is something that we use when we interrogate data, when we use conditional statements. We look to see if something is true or false, and based on that, we do something or we don't. And those Boolean operators are, you know, things like the ampersand for and, or the pipe for or the double equal sign when we're testing, say, for equality. So when we test for equality, we use the double equal sign. When we assign a value, we use a single equal sign. Second bullet point here, I talk about a character. So anything that is, you know, text and enclosed in quotes, we consider a character or a string. R will usually, generally, all text will be automatically converted to a character, but not always. And if I wanted to do, beyond a single variable, if I wanted to create a character vector, I could create one, you know, with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday here, 3. And I'm getting a good question from Akash. Are there differences between single and double quotes? R is pretty forgiving with single and double quotes. You can use either. I like the convention of using double quotes. It really does depend. If you're going through my lessons and you start cutting and pasting what I have there, sometimes you'll get some errors because, I don't know if anybody knows this, but in Microsoft Word, when you create documents and you use quotes, sometimes they turn into smart quotes, and they're actually different characters than the double quotes. Just an aside. So let's go over another example here. So starting with the first line, I use this function, it's called a class function, to figure out what my data type is for any variable or vector or data frame or etc. So I would say class pass in the variable x, and it gets returned as a numeric. I assign a value of 1.2 to z. I check what that class is or what that data type. It tells me it's a numeric. Okay. I assign a character string to B, and when I type out B, I see that it has book, and when I try to find the class of B, it says that it's a character. Okay, so this is just everything in programming. It's all about kind of asking questions the right way to get the answers that you need, right? So it's using the appropriate functions that act on the appropriate data to learn more about that data. So we talked a little bit about vectors, but just wanted to go over them a little bit more formally. In all the R documentation, they always start out with, you know, something that looks like this, like using a C function, which means combined. And it's combined these values into a single vector, or again, you can think of a vector as a column. And then name that X. Okay, so here's just an example of that. And so this is the data that we have to work with is X. We can add 2 to X. So that means I can add 2 to every value in that vector, or every element, it's called, in the vector. And we count the elements by, this would be element 1, this would be element 2, this would be element 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is element 6, okay? When we count elements in vectors in other programming languages, we usually start at 0. In R, we start at 1. So I like you to go ahead and create a vector called months with the integers 1 through 12 and square that vector. When you have this done, just type your answer in the text chat. Okay, good. So we see that people have done this in different ways. So if we look at Dimitri and David's response in the text chat, these are two different ways to create a vector called months, right? So I'll show you on the screen here. So we can actually type out values 1 through 12 and use the combine function, then assign that to months, or I can use the range 1 through 12 inclusive of the number 1 and the number 12 and create that vector. And then obviously to square that, I can just use the, just do that how it's listed there, using the caret, which is the character above the 6 key. All right, good. Now let's do one more. Create a vector called days with the days Monday through Wednesday. When you have that answer, you can type it in the text chat. This one just takes longer because you're typing probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thank you, Dimitri. David. Rishi, good. You can see David and Rishi, David used the equals sign and Rishi used the conventional R assignment operator. Different ways to do the same thing. Good. If you haven't typed it in, it's fine. Don't feel like you're falling behind. Sometimes it just takes us longer. We're navigating between multiple windows and I completely understand that. But if I am going ultra fast for you, please just send me a text chat. Let me know. You can even send one that's private. There's an option by the chat to kind of send to the organizers, and that would be me. So please tell me. So here's how you would do it. Good. I just wanted you to get some experience creating vectors. The last thing I want to talk about are functions. And functions are important because they allow you to operate and manipulate or interrogate data, essentially, for our purposes, or some data, or objects, okay? And generally, when we use functions, they return a number, a string, or some value, some kind of information to us. So for instance, I can use mathematical functions like the square root. I can take the square root and I pass in what's called an argument, and my argument could be a variable, or it could be, in this case, it could be a number, taking the square root of 25. And that the output, the return of that using that function is simply the calculation, right? Then the same thing, I can create a vector here of the numbers 1 through 5, and I can pass in that vector into a function called mean. So I can embed functions within functions. I very rarely do that for purposes of this class because I find that it can be confusing to have functions within functions. So I rather write an extra line of code just so you can see exactly the logic behind it. And then as you get more skilled, you can put 30 different functions within functions on a single line and be very elegant. In this class, you don't have to be, but I'm going to be very explicit about what I'm doing so you can see each and every function and what it's doing. So here, toUpper is another example of a function, and I pass in a string in this case, and it converts that string to an uppercase, okay, a character string. Now, functions work on certain types of data. So square root is not going to work on hello world, okay, because it's expecting a numeric. toUpper is not going to work on 25 because it's expecting what? It's expecting characters, okay? We can't put uppercase on the number 25, for instance. So this is where you have to start understanding what the functions do, and just because they exist doesn't mean they're going to be able to operate on the arguments that you pass in. And when I say arguments you pass in, it's whatever is in between the parentheses. So anytime you see parentheses, that means that you're probably looking at a function. Anytime you see square brackets, aside from the output line, it usually means that you're referencing an element within an array or in a data set. Okay? Can you print a list of all available functions from R help? No. And the reason, Akash, you can't is because R is a very rich community of developers who have developed, hundreds and hundreds of packages that we can use to operate on data, create models, to run statistics, and they're all very unique, but I can show you how you can learn about functions that are related to a certain package and print all of those out. So now we're going to move on, because I usually around after the first hour, I like to start with the practice exercises. And we're going to start with the practice exercise 1. And we will get to practice exercise 2, but we're not going to complete it. And the reason for that is I want to make sure you have something to work on afterwards, because my hope is that you'll be so motivated to continue working and practicing that you will finish up the second exercise on your own. Okay, so what I like to do is just switch over to RStudio. So I'm going to code with you, and we're going to start with question 1, which asks you to compute an equation. And then I'm going to ask you to post your answer in the text chat, and then I'll show you how to solve the problem. And we'll continue like this for each question. So I'm going to move to my RStudio window. So I'm getting out of this and moving to RStudio. So here's my RStudio window. So you can go ahead and begin with question 1. So you're going to be managing my screen and your screen and the PDF file, so just beware. And I'm just setting up my screen so I can see everything I need to. So so you can, at the console window, if you have stuff here already here, you can clear your console window saying Control L, and you can begin. So I see Brian and Salma. Everybody's already getting the hang of this. Yes. Is there a hotkey for clearing variables? Okay, Ajay. We can simply go to the global environment here and use this, this nice little broom. And you see what happens here. Are you sure you want to remove all objects, it's called? So it says yes. There's also another command that you can do. So let's say I'm saying x equals 4. You see x shows up here. And then I can use the rm ls you could do that. You can use this as well to remove any environments. I'm sorry, any variables or objects in your environment. Okay, so I'm going to clear my screen, and we're on question 1. I see people are already, so many of you are already responding. This is wonderful. You have the right answer. So quite simply, I'll run my code here. So this is how you do it. This is just to get you familiar with the order of operations. So move on to question 2. So what's the absolute value of 88? And you're negative 88, you'll just say, oh, it's 88, but I want you to use the absolute value function. There you go. Great. So what's the base 10 log of 72? So we're on question 3. Okay, good. David's got it. And I'll show you kind of what I've done. All right. I like to check my log function too. So I just wrote some code to check and make sure my log function is kosher. Cool. Great. And again, this isn't a race. I know that sometimes it's, if you've never seen this before, it takes some thought, but I just want you to kind of get moving. So next, why don't we go to question 4? compute the exponential function. So I'll give you a minute to do that. All right, let's check back. Good, good. Ajay, Albert. Okay, here we go. So I'll show you how I've computed this. You could also, if you wanted to, write your own. Oops. Okay. And this is just simply we're using Euler's number and raising it to the 1.45 power and then subtracting 2.61. Okay. So you can either decide to use the exponential function or actually put the Euler's number in there. Just to get you familiar with some of the functions available. Okay, now this is a little bit of a word problem. Number 5. So assign a variable year born to 1984. Assign a variable year current to 2014. Assign a variable age and compute it. And then part D, return true or false if the person is eligible to vote in the US. And that's basically, we want to know if the age is greater than or equal to 18. So go ahead and do 5. And then if you want to just paste in the chunk of code for that. So cautious, you did the first part, but do A through D and then paste it in. Now I like Alex. He's doing a conditional statement. Alrighty, good. Take another minute on this one. This is a 4-step problem. So Nandi, that looks good, but you want to just do part D as well. All right, Tanik, you need part D as well. Uh-oh, is age greater than 18? What is that going to return? Tanik. It will return true. However, we want to be careful. We want the directions say age is greater than or equal to 18. Because what if age was 18? Then your statement of is age greater than 18 would actually return false. Same with you, Albert. I would use greater than or equal to. Age might change, and we don't want people not to be eligible to vote if they are 18. Thank you. So we're just kind of following along a little in the text chat right now for those of you that are still coding. Great. So let me show you how I did it. So I'm just going to clear my console window, and we'll go ahead and year born, year current, age. So I have my 3 variables. I printed out what ages, and then I say, I'm basically asking a question here, is age greater than or equal to 18? And it returns a Boolean. All right. So I hope that's helpful. Let me know if there's any questions. Let's move on to question 6. Okay, so we're given the formula for an area of a circle, obviously. So pi times r squared. And we're going to be given an area of 100. And I want you to write a statement to find r using the square root and pi functions. So once you have that, please type that in the text chat. I apologize you couldn't hear me. I was muted. Thank you for letting me know. This text chat is very handy. Okay, we had a question, yes, about that I was going a little bit too fast on the question 6. So we start out by assigning 100 to a variable called area. And then to compute the radius, we need to use the formula. So we're taking the square root of area divided by pi, and we're assigning that to a variable r. Okay, so area pi is a variable that's already in R that's been hard coded, and we're taking the square root. That's a function. Okay. And then I can just print out R. So Salma, I'm trying to understand your question. For future reference, do you want us to always assign, such as this example? Oh, meaning area, like assign 100 to an area, and then I like doing that so you can always reference a variable in the future, rather than if you just said square root here. Just watch my console. If I just do this and then I get the oops, I made a mistake. If I just did this, I would get the output, but that output's not stored anywhere, and I can't reference it later. So that's always good practice to store back in a variable. Do the reassignment like I did to R. Good question. Good question. All right, how are we on question 7? You're computing 15 and 20% tips. All right, so those of you that have this done, I would say one modification you could make is that you could actually round the tip for 15% and 20%, what the total bill would be. You'd never say it was $57.46967. Okay, so Dimitri, do you want to round as a whole number, or you want to round to certain decimal places? I don't know if the restaurant's going to give you the, I don't know if you're going to want to pay the extra to the restaurant. So you can use the round function and then comma 2 decimal places. Do you feel generous? Okay. Okay, good. Dimitri. And I'll walk through how I've done this. So I have my bill, and I assign it to a variable. Okay, called bill, $45.90. Then I have my tax rate, which I assign to a variable. Then I compute my subtotal, okay? 1 plus the tax rate divided by 100, and I multiply that by the bill. And I get my subtotal. And I check my subtotal, make sure it makes sense to me. Then I go ahead and I can round that, which is nice. And I use the function called round. But I didn't store that rounded number in any variable, right? So I'm not really going to be able to reference that. But we've been talking about rounding, so I wanted to show that. So then I compute what my tip would be for 15%. And I store that in tip 15. And then I can also round that like you see. And then I compute the total bill if I have a 20% dip. And you see the total there. Okay, so you should have something similar. Some people did it a little bit differently. You didn't get the right numbers, your just math is wrong. Okay. That's not a programming issue. That's just think about the problem a little bit. All right. So I'm going to pause for a minute, let people kind of finish up. If you want to share what you've done, even if it's the same code as mine, please do so. So I know that you're here. If you have questions or if I'm going too fast, you want me to slow down a little bit, let me know. For those of you that are done, go ahead and open the session 2 handout. Make sure you have access to that data, the winterolympic.csv. And I'm going to bring up my code. and I want to talk about a few things. Thank you, Ajay. Okay, so for the next 10 minutes or so, I want to talk about the exercises for session 2. Again, we'll only get to part of it. But this is going to be a point where a lot of people are going to have problems. And especially if you're using a new version of RStudio, and I just want to help you along. So one of the hardest things to do is to import data. Sometimes it's the easiest thing to do if your data is really clean, but getting your data and being able to manipulate it and it being in the form that you want it to be in is always a challenge because you don't know what to expect all the time, right? There could be missing fields, there could be strange characters, your program can't find the file, there's lots of different issues. So there's a few things. If you are using the version of RStudio that is the latest one, so I'm using 1.0136, there's a few things to note. If you decide when you're importing your data, like your CSV file, you can use this button called Import Dataset. If you do that, you're going to be importing a data set, and that data set's going to have a certain type, okay? And that data set's going to be a type called Tibble, T-I-B-B-L-E. Sounds weird, but if you are using an older version, your data will come in as what's called a data frame, okay? We like to work in data frames, not Tibbles. A lot of the functions that we use to interrogate our data only work on data frames. When we import a data set using like buttons, in RStudio, like import data set from CSV, you run into some issues because this feature of RStudio has been updated with using a new package that is not compatible with a lot of the things that we'll be doing or you'll just be doing in real life. Tibble is an interesting data type. You can do a lot of interesting things with it. However, it's only in version 1.0, and so a lot of the other packages haven't caught up and don't know how to interact with data that's of type Tibble. Okay, that's my caveat. So if we are importing data, one of the things that we can do is use this command that I have highlighted. We're using something called read.csv when we're working with CSV files. We pass in the name of our data file, okay, our data set, and then we decide whether it's comma separated, which this is what it is, and if it has a header. Does anybody know what a header means? Header is essentially those column names. Yeah, names in the top row, rows. A row specifying the columns. And in our winterolympic.csv, we have that. Now, if you've already opened this file and it launches in Excel and you've saved it, you're probably going to run into some problems because you're going to get some funny characters. It's okay. Just know that happens. So before we begin importing our data, you want to do a few things. Wherever that data set is located, you want to set that as your working directory. Okay, why? Because you notice that in this line here that I've highlighted, I'm just saying I'm referencing the file, but it doesn't know where to look. It's like winterolympic.csv. Like where is that located? Well, it's actually looking at my working directory. And I can set my working directory by using this command, set working directory. Oops. Set WD. And I set it to my Dropbox. It's just easy because then I can be on any machine. Okay. There's an easy way to do this that you don't have to remember the command. You can go to Session, Set Working Directory, and then choose your directory. Right now, I'm moving into something that you're going to learn in Lesson 3. Okay, but just want to prep you for this. And then I can navigate to whatever directory I want. My desktop, wherever. And then I say open. And you notice down in the console window, the set WD command was already executed for me because I went to session, set working directory, and I chose my directory. Or I can simply just type it out. For some people, that may be hard to kind of figure out what the path is for your working directory. So when we're working with session 2, this exercise that I put together for you, the first thing that we need to do is import our data, okay? And that's question 1A. So if we get to end of question 1 today, that would be great. So let's begin by setting our working directories together. So again, I'll demonstrate, and we'll use the simple go to the session, set working directory, and then choose the directory. Make sure it's that directory where your winter_Olympic lives. I recommend creating a folder on your desktop or something that has all the files you use for this class, and then set that folder as your directory. You don't have to do that now. You can always change it at any point. So once you set that, should be at that point. And then I'd like you to use this command, the read.csv, to actually read in the file. So I'm going to run that. And a few things happen after I ran that. Under this environment tab, you see that I have something called data and 26 observations of 7 variables. That's the winterolympic.csv. Okay, I just named it something called data. If I wanted to see that data, I can simply type in data, and I could actually take a look at it. I'm going to clear my console. Or I can use a command called view, pass in data, and then I can see it really nicely on the top screen here. So you can see that there are 7 columns and 26 observations. Okay, so we call the columns variables and we call rows observations in R. Some people have a little trouble with the, if things aren't. I could show the command again as well. So here we go. I'm just highlighting it on the top part of the screen. And one thing I want to show you, for those of you who've imported your data, tell me what type your data is by using the class function. Class, and pass in data. You'll get something that's a data.frame. If you get something else, you've done it wrong. And if you're getting some character issues, like I said, importing data is going to be one of the toughest things in the beginning. So you might have to go in and revise that file in Excel, resave it as a CSV, remove those funny characters if that's happening to you. It could depend on a few things, on how you downloaded it, if you opened it in Excel first, if you saved it. If you're having problems, you can always go back to the Materials tab here and just download the file again. Don't open it and try uploading it, importing it. So one of the points I was trying to make is to discuss the type of data structure you're using for your data set. We want to use data frames, and we check to see that it's a data frame by using the class function. Okay, there's a way to import data by saying import data set. From CSV. I'm going to show you how to do that using a kind of a WYSIWYG or GUI interface, where I can browse simply to my winterolympics.csv. I can open it. I can see, and I'm going to name it winter just for argument's sake. I can make comma delimited, and you can actually see the code that's here. And this code looks very different than the code I showed you before. Pay special attention. It's not read.csv, it's read_CSV. Okay, and it's using a different library right now. So if I import my data this way, and there I didn't have to write any code, I just had to click on buttons. It imports, you'll see in my environment tab here, something called winter. It looks exactly like data, right? Data is the one I imported using the read.csv command. Winter I use read_CSV command. However, when I look at the class and I pass in winter, it's not a, it's what's called a tibble. It's not a data frame. I'm glad people are helping each other if you're getting the getting errors with the data. Good. So again, my point is to use the read.csv command. And even though the kind of point and click interface is useful, it would require you to do something to change the type of data structure winter is. And so you could say something like winter equals data.frame and then pass in winter. Now I'm converting winter to a data frame. That's fine. So you can do that as well. And now if I say class winter, getting a data.frame. Yes, so Rishi, we cover this in not this exact example, but this is kind of to prep you for what's to come. So I always get a lot of questions about importing data, and a lot of people gave strategies here, and everybody should just be referencing the text chat to look at some of those different strategies. So I'm just going to finish out the first question just so you have that. So I'm going to print how many variables are in the data frame because I've already imported it. I viewed the data, and now I'm going to we know how many variables there are, but I can use a function called length, and I can figure out how many columns there are. Okay, and then I can decide. I could also print out the names of the columns using a function called names. And you're like, well, I could just look at the data right here and see it, right? But sometimes you have a lot more data. You're in a business analytics program, so you're not going to be working with just 26 observations of 7 variables. And so you're going to need to use these functions in order to kind of see, actually be able to look at some elements of the data or characteristics. And then the last one, 1E, how many countries or rows are in the data frame? Well, we can use the dim function, DIM, to give us the dimensions, which is great. So it'll tell us that we have a 27 by 7 data set. So that means 26 observations of 7 variables. So at this point, you have questions 2 through 7 to work on if you want as practice, especially if you've already gone through lesson 3. I provided the solutions already online, so you can even walk through and cut and paste and just try working with that. But for many of you, you're probably still working on getting your data in and making sure you feel comfortable using the read.csv command. Say you had a question about how does read.csv work? So you would use the question mark and you would type in read.csv and enter. And you would see on the right-hand side of the screen, it tells me how to use the read.csv command. This is the documentation. So you'd have to get used to starting to read the documentation of R. But anytime you have a question about what does this function do? What does dim mean? What does it mean? You always type in question mark and then the name of the function. So Burkhak, you asked where the link for the solutions are. So if I just navigate to my browser, I'm going to NYU. Let me just log into home I showed this in the beginning of Burkhak, but I'll show again. I go to academics, NYU classes. You go to your course. Okay, so you're in the Foundation of Statistics Using R course. You go to lessons, and I have something. This is like all my materials for the R section of the course. Go down to materials for online sessions 1 through 3. Click on it, and you'll see, voila, you'll see the solution for exercise 1, the solution for exercise 2, and even the upcoming ones. So you click here, and it will take you to the solution. Okay, so this is everything that you're going to learn how to code. So, Burkhak, I hope that was helpful. Any other questions? So at this point, this formally concludes our first online meeting. I really hope it was useful. Again, and I hope I've given you some things to kind of keep working after this meeting. And I know for many of you, it's like the wee hours of the morning. Still, those of you in California and, gosh, Australia. So you're probably not going to want to work more. But I hope that this at least gave you a clear sense of like how we're going to work for the next 2 online sessions. What I'm going to do is I see David and a few other people might have questions. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the recording and I'm going to answer your questions. So just a moment.